We're here in downtown Dallas playing some 5-5-10 underground poker at an undisclosed location. Well, not so underground when you consider just how high up we actually are. Check out this sweet high-rise view. I got plenty of exciting hands to go over for you guys today, so let's jump right into the action with pocket queens. I put the $20 straddle out and Colin wastes no time and makes it $70 to go. Scott is on the button. You guys might remember him from some of my prior videos. He comes in for a great sizing, a 3-bet to $210. Action's back over to me with pocket queens, the third best hand ever created. I have to come in for a 4-bet. I don't need to go super large, somewhere between 2 and 3 times Scott's $210 bet will do. I decided to go $475 and Colin finds the fold. Action's back over to Scott, who reluctantly decides to fold his cards. Luckily enough for you guys, we're going to see what both the opponents had. Colin made it $70 with ace-jack off, and Scott decided to put in the 3-bet with pocket eights, the snowman, instead of just putting in the call. Scott just calls there. I'd obviously raise, but it would be a lot smaller. And that's kind of indicative here in this hand, where there's a limp, a raise, and action's over to me in the straddle with pocket sevens, my favorite hand. And I decide just to call instead of coming in for a 3-bet. Colin finds the call, 3 ways to a flop we go, which comes 9, 8, 7, bang, we flop bottom set. Did you guys expect anything else other than bottom set with my favorite hand? Absolutely not. I start with a check. Colin leads out for $40 and we lose our 3-way. I decide just to put in the call here, see a safe turn, which doesn't come. It's the 6 of hearts. So now any 5, any 10 have me beat. Additionally, pocket 8s, pocket 9s, 10 jack. I mean, there's just a ton of hands. Of course, I'm going to start with a check once again. However, Colin now slows down and checks on the turn, and the river card gives us both a straight. It comes a 10 of hearts, so we're only losing to a hand that has a jack in it or jack queen. Of course, you could have backed into a flush, but that seems a little bit less likely, so I'm going to try to get him off of a chop here. This is a high level play. We're going to go the size of the pot for $200. I wouldn't blame anyone for going $300 or even $400 here. You can only pretty much call with a jack or a flush, of course. So when I go large here for $200, Colin moans and groans, checks his cards once again, but he didn't come all the way up the elevator to fold a chop. He puts in the call. I turn over a set of 7s, which is now a straight by the river, and Colin shows us that he, in fact, made the straight on the turn, and we're chopping on the river. Nice hand, sir. Nice hand. All right, straddle's on, raise to 35. I'm in the small blind. You know what that means. A large 3-bet incoming to $135. Action's back over to Scott, who now puts in the dreaded 4-bet, $435 to go. It's a pretty large sizing, ace queen off, just can't continue here. I make a pretty disciplined fold, and Scott shows us the goods, pocket kings. All right, there's a limp to 5, a raise, a call in front of me. Great squeeze spot here with king queen suited, and of course I'm gonna go large to $150. Expecting to get a lot of folds, maybe a call or 2 from an in-position player. A 4-bet jam is not what we cooked up here. Rye Guy ships it in for $490. When the action folds back around to me, I'm gonna give him some action here, but I'm not loving it. Any ace high has me beat at the moment, any pocket pair as well. But we came here to gamble. We're in a $1,000 pot. We're not gonna flip our cards over. Off to a run out we go, which comes 8-7-7. Turn comes the deuce and the river card comes an ace. We're left with just king high, and Rye Guy was good the entire way. 4-bet ripped it in with ace-9 offsuit, and even though we're stuck on this session, it's nice to know we're in an action game. Plenty of chances for us to get our money back in the next few hands. Straddle's on, limp for 10. I decided to make it as patented Cinco de Mayo, $55 with none other than pocket kings.
I think it's time for a Cinco de Mayo.
We pick up 2 callers, 3 ways to the flop we go, which comes ace, queen, deuce with 2 spades. It seems like every time you have pocket kings, it's an ace magnet. It always comes on the flop. When it checks to me, it's a pretty great board to go for a c-bet on. I fire out for $55 once again.
Cinco de Mayo.
Rye Guy wants more of my chips. He's a greedy player. Puts in the call, and the turn comes the 7 of clubs. Checks over to me for a second time, and most players would now check behind, looking for a free river card and maybe get to a cheap showdown. However, if he has a queen in his hand or maybe a flush draw, he probably would call the turn and then not call another bet on the river. So I like that play of allowing him to call when behind. Of course, he could call with an ace, but then he'll check river, I'll check behind, and we'll still get to that showdown. So I fire out for $105, trying to extract a little bit more value, and Rye Guy does in fact put in the call. The river card seems like a brick. It comes at 9 of diamonds.
Put a 9 on the river. What? You've done that so many times.
He checks it over to me for a third time, and just like I said on the turn, I check behind on the river, $500 pot. Is it going my way?
Come on, be a star. What do you have? Be a star!
8-5 of spades. Rye Guy playing loose did not catch his flush, and we are taking down that pot, getting our chip stack back to a somewhat playable amount. Alright, next hand, pocket kings. It looks like I didn't give my cards back, but I assure you, kings back to back here. Rye Guy straddles it to 20, and I make it $55 to go. Colin puts in the call. Rye Guy calls as well. We are going 3 ways to the flop. In position we go, which comes Jack 9-7 with 2 hearts. When the action checks over to me, I probably could check behind here. The logic is I don't want to get check raised and blown off my hand, but against these 2 specific opponents, Colin is super fun, and you guys saw a few hands with Rye Guy already in this video, so I don't need to explain anything about him. I think betting here for value is definitely the move. I fire out for $75, Colin calls, Rye Guy calls, still have 2 customers. Off to the turn we go, which comes the 9 of clubs. Overall, not the best card in the deck. Both my opponents are more likely to have a 9 than myself. However, the flush didn't come in, the straights didn't come in, so I think betting here on the turn has some merit. However, I think I can also check behind and catch some bluffs on the river, or go for a 3rd street of value there, which is what I decided to do. You gotta mix it up sometimes, can't play predictable. I check behind, and the river card now comes the 8 of spades. Obviously not a great one, because any 10 now has me beat, and Colin fires out into the field for $300. We lose Rye Guy, he's done with the hand, but the action's back over to me. I check to make sure I don't have a heart in my hand, because I want Colin to have a lot of King of Hearts bluffs. Going forward on the river, I'll pick him off. However, after looking at my cards, I see that I don't have a heart, which means I'm probably going to put in the call here, even though the 8 of spades is not the best card. And sure enough, when I turn over a king, he shows a jack, so we have that beat, followed by the 10 of spades. Colin taking down a $1,000 pot. Our chip stack is back down to $300. I'm stuck $700 on the session. Alright, most of the time I would top back up to $1,000 or maybe more. You can see to my left there's a massive stack. Probably could match that if I wanted to, but I'm going to show you guys the power of short stack poker, not getting on tilt, playing good hands, getting my stack in, and trying to get back up to $1,000. So make it $20 to go with ace jack offsuit. We're going to pick up 3 callers, 4 ways to the flop, which comes 10-8-7 rainbow. Obviously I'm putting no more money in on this flop. I have 2 overcards, but I do have a gutter to the straight. When the action checks through, I just called it, the 9 of diamonds on the turn, bang, we turn the straight. To make our life a little bit sweeter, Scott now fires out for $60. Of course, I gotta put in the call. I could also raise here, but I think with my short stack, it'll be pretty easy to get money in on the river. The logic to raising here is we don't want a scare card to come off on the river and Scott puts no more money in. But I think by calling, we could also pick up another player. And of course, by saying that, no one else calls. So we're going heads up to the river in position, which comes an absolute brick, the 3 of hearts. Now if he bets, I'm just gonna rip it over the top of him. But when he slows down and checks, that is not music to our ears. So I think I should go small now, because any good hand, he would have bet himself for a decent sizing. So when he checks, he's pretty much just giving up. I go a trivial $40, around 10% the size of the pot, and Scott folds his cards face down. I'm interested to note if he would have called a jam on the turn, but seeing as though he didn't bluff on the river or call my $40 bet, it's pretty unlikely any more money was going in the middle. Alright, there's a straddle, a limp, actions over to me with 7 deuce offsuit. We are in fact playing the 7 deuce bounty game. What does that mean? If you win with the worst hand in poker, 7 deuce offsuit, you will get $15 from every player at the table. Given the fact there's 8 other players, that's an extra $120 we can win if we just table 7 deuce as the winner. So I'm definitely gonna fight for that. Amy puts in the call, and we are going heads up to the flop, which gives me a pair, 8-4 deuce with 2 hearts. I'm gonna go for a c-bet. Before I can even get my chips in the middle, Amy folds her cards. I say all in as a joke, but money is gonna be shipped my way in 2 forms, both in that bounty and the main pot.
Thanks, Amy! Go, Amy. Go, 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 Amy.
There's a raise to 15. I decided to put in the call for $15. Probably should just be 3-betting or folding, but sometimes I guess I could find the call. Multi-way to a flop we go, which comes ace, queen, 8 with 2 spades, and I decide to call a $30 bet from Tyler on my left. When the turn comes the 3 of diamonds, I check it over to Tyler once again. He fires out for 115 and I call again, considering there are a lot of draws out there and I don't block too many of them. The spade draws, the diamond draws, the straight draws. I find the call and the river now comes the 7 of spades. I'm planning on check folding here, or hopefully he checks behind and we table a winner. So when I check it over to Tyler and he doesn't check behind but bets small for 125, I just don't think this is a bluff. This seems like a 2-pair, ace king, ace queen, pocket 8s, pocket 3s type of hand. So I find the fold and Tyler graciously turns over the snowman, and even though we're losing this $470 pot, we saved $125 on the river. Straddle's on for $10. I make it $30 to go, then get way too excited when I see my hand, pocket 3s, the camera falls to the ground, but we know we're about to play a big one here. A few other players put in the call and the flop comes ace, 8, 8 rainbow. I decided to monkey in the middle here. What does that mean? When you're in between two opponents, it's usually best to start with a check. Dusty doesn't like checking. He fires out for $35 and the player to my right puts in the call. Pocket 3s probably could hit the muck, but I'm getting a pretty good price here. There'd be like 235 in the middle. It's only 35 for me to call, so that's what I do. I find the call. The turn is not good for us. It comes the queen of clubs. However, when the action checks over to Dusty, he checks behind now, giving me a free card, and we need it. The 3 of diamonds, bang, we river a boat. Okay, this is exactly how I drew the hand up. I'm gonna float on the flop to look like a maniac. The turn checks through, I river the boat, and now I'm gonna go for a big sizing here. It looks like a bluff, $335. Very polarizing. Either I have a bluff or a very strong hand like ace king, ace queen, maybe an 8x hand like 8-9 or 8-7. Or of course, pocket 3s. Let's go. This large bet has Dusty perplexed. He really wants to fold, but you can see him smiling over there, shuffling his cards. That's usually the sign of someone who wants to put money in the middle. He does in fact find the call. We lose the 3-way. I turn over a 3, followed by another one. It's a boat. And as Dusty's smile slowly fades off of his face, the dealer, Eric, pushing all of his chips over to me. We get a full double up, 905 in our stack. Remember when we were down to $300 just a few hands ago? Well, yeah, our chip stack took a nice elevator ride up to the 9th floor. Let's go. All right, time to battle now with pocket 10s. There's a straddle, 2 limps, and a raise to $60 from Nemo. Could come in for a 3-bet, but Nemo hasn't been playing the most amount of hands tonight, and I'm not trying to get into a spot where he 4-bets me and I have to fold, so I decide just to call. Maybe we'll pick up another caller or two and we'll go set mining on the flop. Unfortunately, when we call, nobody else does. Set mining, we go heads up versus Nemo, which comes 10-9-6, bang! We have a fish on the hook. I check it over to Nemo and somehow he checks behind. How does he not have pocket aces or kings here, finding a c-bet? I can go for a nice little check raise. When the turn comes the deuce of spades, I think he'll go for a bet now if I check it once again. Nope, the spidey senses are off. He checks behind. I look like an absolute idiot now with top set in a very small pot. The river comes the 9 of diamonds, and surely now is the time to put more money in the middle. Finally, I listen to my inner thoughts and fire out for 225. Nemo doesn't love it, but ultimately does in fact call the overbet. I turn over my boat, 10s full of 9s, and Nemo folds his cards face down. All right, the poker gods helped me out in that last hand, but I didn't do my part by not betting the turn. So let's play a little bit better in this one. There's a raise to 20, a 3-bet to 60, and I'm gonna come in for a 4-bet. I make it 165 to go. Walker, the pre-flop 3-better, puts in the call and the flop comes ace, king, king with 2 spades. He checks it over to me and I decide to check behind. We're either way ahead or way behind an ace or a king. So I check behind, can't really be too mad about that one, and the turn comes the deuce of clubs. Walker checks it over to me for a second time and now we have a decision. After he doesn't lead the turn, it's likely as a hand like pocket 7s, pocket 8s, pocket 9s, maybe a spade draw, or maybe a weak ace that doesn't want to get blown off their hand. hand, so I think going for a bet on this turn makes some sense. However, we could also check behind and pick off bluffs on the river, which is exactly what I decided to do, and the river now gives us 3 pairs when it comes the deuce of diamonds. Walker goes for a very small blocker-ish type bet of $50, around 10% of the size of the pot. Not gonna raise it, I don't think I get called by worse, but I'm hoping when I put in the call, he'll show me one of those lower pocket pairs. He in fact does not. He turns over ace-10 of diamonds, so this $460 pot going over his way. Alright, I'm assuming 99% of you guys watching have never played reverse hold'em. Well, good news is I've never played reverse hold'em as well. This is my very first hand. Eric, what are we playing?
We're playing reverse hold'em. We're gonna put the river first, then the turn, then the flop. Gotcha. Okay, so I have no idea what I'm doing.
And of course, we pick up the bullets, pocket aces. So if I make some mistakes in this hand, for all you reverse hold'em wizards, all you sweaty players out there, just forgive me. This is my very first hand. Can I butcher it with pocket aces? Well, there's a straddle. Of course, we're gonna go 3x to $30. Seems pretty standard so far. The first interesting thing that pops into my head about reverse hold'em is if opponents have hands like pocket fives, pocket sixes, they aren't really getting the best price to set mine, because normally you see 3 cards on the flop, but reverse hold'em, you only see 1 card. So take that with a grain of salt. We're gonna pick up a bunch of callers, and then Nemo makes it $230 to go, music to my ears. Aces are always pretty strong, but I think in reverse hold'em, they go to a whole new level. For instance, if someone has my favorite hand, pocket sevens, if they call an additional $200 here in order to see a flop, they're not seeing 3 cards, they're just seeing 1. So set mining really goes out the window in reverse hold'em. What does that mean? I think jamming here is a huge mistake. Obviously, that's what I do because I play a lot of normal no-limit hold'em, and you really don't want to go multi-way with pocket aces. You just want to go heads up, get the money in. But I think in reverse hold'em, I'm probably better off just calling the 230 from Nemo and incentivizing one of the hooligans across the table that only put in 30 bucks to bump it up to 230 as well. But at the end of the day, jamming my entire stack in with the best hand can't be that big of a mistake. It obviously clears the field back over to Nemo, who made it 230. We'd love for him to put more money in the middle so I don't feel like a complete imbecile by jamming my stack in the middle, fast playing pocket aces. After a long tank, he picks his cards up and announces fold, but he wants to run the board out. You guys can see how funky this is. The river comes the 8 of hearts, the turn comes the king of hearts, and now here comes the flop, 3 cards all at once. He turns over 7 deuce offsuit. He was trying to give me a little bit of light action, ultimately decided I was way too strong, and I do in fact turn over the bullets. That's gonna wrap up our session here in downtown Dallas. Out for $1,300, in for $1,000. That's a profit of $300. Doesn't seem like very much until you realize I was down all the way to $300 and clawed my way back. If you guys enjoyed this home game vlog, there's 2 other videos on your screen right now from other home games I went to across the country. Good luck on the felt, you guys, and I'll catch you as always in the next video. Peace.
Bang!
Oh my god, is that guy that lost the pocket sevens twice? Wait, I think you're missing $1,000.
So bad.
He missed out on 100K, so he's got to swindle me out of 1.
It's over.
Oh shit.